And we are live on YouTube. Hello, everyone. In for into no, not my shouldn't think in German and try to talk English at the same time. Today we want to look into Falco and the GitLab package hunter. And it is my pleasure to have Pop with us today and talk, give us an introduction into Falco, what it does, how it works, including a live demo. And later on, we will switch into package hunter, trying it out. I tried to prepare something myself. And in the end, we hopefully can hack together, try things out, break things, fix things, and have a great time. That being said, Pop, what's up with Falco? What is that? Who are you? A short introduction.
Right to business. You Germans are so efficient. I love it. I love it. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. My name is Dan Papandrea. People call me Pop. I'm the director of open source community and ecosystem for Sysdig. Sysdig was one of the creators of Falco. We have a very vibrant community, which I love. You know, people are interacting and doing really cool stuff. We have a great ecosystem of adopters like GitLab. We've done some really amazing stuff in the past. I know Sam, who's on the call here with us, has done some talks on Falco and integrations with GitLab and all of that. So it's awesome. But in terms of, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen at this point. So bear with me 1 second. And here we go. All right, so look, if you all are kind of interested in Falco, you're going to go to falco.org. All right, I was going to show you a bunch of slides. I'm not going to. What we're going to do today is I'm going to tell you the background of Falco, and then we can segue into what you can do with package hunter, because package hunter is using the underlying libs of Falco as a way to do some of the dependency like tracking and all of the runtime details from that. But what is Falco? Falco is a CNCF project. It's an incubated CNCF project that we're in the process of graduation. And so it was originally built by Sysdig. Sysdig is a secure DevOps platform that allows you vulnerability management and all the way to post-mortem using the underlying libs that we use that it's part of the Falco project. So what does it do? So Falco uses system calls to secure and monitor a system by parsing system calls at the kernel at runtime. So you hear terms like eBPF or those types of things. You're tapping into the kernel and you're running little applications that allow you to kind of extrapolate data points, right? So anything is a system call, right? If I go ahead and touch a file, there's a system call that's happening. If I go ahead and have a network connection, that is also a system call. So all of those things are things that are presented to the kernel. And so what Falco does is it has a rules engine and alerts when that rule is violated, right? And so we'll talk about package hunter later. The amazing people at GitLab basically created a bunch of rules, some rules that basically are specific to like maybe some of the NPM packages, and they've extended it. So it's really cool how they've taken the basis of Falco and extended, but I'll let them do the dog and pony later. So what does it check for? And I mean, look, there's all types of things. There's two things I can tell you from a syscall perspective. Bear with me 1 second here. Hold on. So if you look at this here, again, talking about syscalls, applications, and at the OS and kernel here. But if you look at the rule sets that are there, the default rules are there's 65 system calls, somebody executing a shell. So if you had a default like just Kubernetes deployment, nobody's going to know if somebody execs into a pod. Nobody's going to know if they've mutated a binary. Then they're going to know if they've created symbolic links there. So even if like you've done a vulnerability scan and you've deployed this thing, it's still, there may be something where somebody could drop like a payload in, and there could be an issue where then they can go ahead and connect to an external website or a miner of some sort, right? So you have those 65 system level calls, rules, but also we tap into the audit log. If you're familiar with the Kubernetes audit log, everything that's going on, like somebody attaching to execing to a pod, somebody creating a namespace they shouldn't have created. So that's kind of the rule sets that you can create. And this is a DSL that's extensible. It's YAML, just like our friends at GitLab have done with Package Hunter. They've basically taken and extending those rules, and you can add rule sets that are there. And if you go to the website, there's a secure hub .dev that you can take some of those rules and create them and edit them and do what you need to do. Now, if you look at this from an architecture perspective, and again, last slide, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty. We're going to deploy a cluster. If we go from here, I told you about that kernel probe, and then there's these libraries and web server. So that's how we're able to get to the metadata. So tell you, okay, this happened in this pod, that happened in this cluster, in this place, and all of those things. Or if you're running on a standard host, it's going to kind of tell you, okay, this was a container that was running on the host or something of that ilk, or a process was running on the host, that type of thing. But then there's that filtered expression, and that's the rules language, the YAML that we use, the Falco rules language, for you to assert, okay, somebody, a file descriptor of /user share nginx or / whatever it might be, then you can output. And you can do that through gRPC, file, standard out, shell, and HTTP. But then there's also something that the community contributed, which I absolutely adore, something called Falco Sidekick. If you're watching this right now and you haven't, please star it, because it's one of the coolest projects out there. Somebody took 3 standard outputs and created over 24 outputs to all of these various things, like chat, like Slack, PagerDuty, logs like Elasticache, Elasticsearch, Q streaming like to NATS, Cloud Functions. And if you go to falco.org right now /blog, you'll see that somebody extended it. One of the community created an article about response engine where if a rule is violated, it has a function. You can run a Google function, a kubeless function, a Knative function, an OpenFastConf function. So you have all of these capabilities that you can extend and contribute. So you say, hey, there's a new tech I want to integrate this with. Cool, let me do it this way. So that's what Falco Sidekick is. All right, so enough of me talking. Let's get to let's make some magic here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna deploy a cluster I'm gonna deploy a cluster at Civo Cloud. If you're all familiar with Civo Cloud, it's a very simple kind of K3S managed deployment. Big fan of them. And I think it's really quick, and you can get a cluster up within, God willing, 90 seconds. So let's go ahead and do that. I gotta remember which one. Okay, so I've created a lot of clusters. So here's what we're gonna do. Let me just create a smaller cluster. GitLab. There we go. We're gonna create one called GitLab. We're gonna wait, save, and merge. That's gonna merge the context, the kubectl there. So let's go ahead. Hey, Philip, do you have any jokes while we're waiting here? Any pineapple on pizza jokes? Come on, you all want to say it. All everyone's watching this wants to throw that out there. So I gotta lean into this stuff.
There's a saying: we Germans don't do jokes, huh?
No.
We're
Germans are not
funny.
Germans are not funny and don't have any humor. I can say that because I'm Austrian. But yeah, pineapple pizza, it's an interesting reminder. But it's great to see that you're using Civo Cloud for creating a cluster.
I mean, this could be any cloud, right? I mean, there's learning environments that we post. If you go to falco.org right now, maybe I can do that real quick. So you see, like in our documentation, if you want to create a learning environment, there's things through Minikube, right? Or if you want to do this through Kind, or microcates, or from a production perspective, let's say maybe you want to do it through GKE, or any of the. I've deployed in Azure multiple times, EKS ETL, and all that type of thing. All right, so
if I remember right, wasn't the Falco Sidekick done by Frank?
So Falco Sidekick was created by Thomas Lavarusius, but Frank did an amazing thing, and Frank created the Sidekick UI, which I'm going to demonstrate. Okay.
Nice.
So our
we
cluster.
had him here. He showed the policy reporter here.
Yeah, he's working on some stuff with, I think, Caverno project as well, and he's a joy. He actually is one of our contributors of the month. That's the other thing I love about the project is we have such a vibrant community. Folks come by, they jump in, and they'll do contributions back to the project. Love to see some contribution from GitLab back to the project as well. So with that being said, now let's go ahead and see. Yep, it's K get nodes. See if our nodes are ready. Looks like 2 are ready of the 3. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install Falco. So I'm going to use the Helm deployment. Now let's go back to the slides real quick. Let me show you how simple it is. I literally would just run this, and this is now, it used to be that you'd run the Helm chart for Falco, the Helm chart for Sidekick, the Sidekick for the UI. This literally does it all for you, right? So I'm going to go ahead and let me create the namespace, Falco. And then I'm going to install, but I created a custom rule. And this is you all have probably seen a couple of ones I've done in the past, but I do this thing where it's basically like a cookie recipe, right? And so you can look at this and use this to be able to say, that's like an Nginx deployment. But I want to show you, this is a rule. If you look at the syntax of a Falco rule, it's a rule, there's a description, and then there's the condition. So you notice, like, basically, if I want to look at anything that's happening within user share Nginx, or whatever, and then have it send out an alert of some sort, which is, again, when we get into Package Hunter later, that's exactly what our friends at GitLab did, is they created a subset of some local rules that look for NPM, look for package issues and all of those things, right? So that's kind of if you look at the syntax of this, right, it's pretty kind of standard. It's a standard YAML that you would do for a custom rule. So what I'm doing here in this Helm install is I'm just saying, okay, use that custom rule YAML. So let's go K get pods -n Falco. And we're creating containers, we're creating the Sidekick, and we're creating the UI. You see all of those things in one fell swoop, one Helm chart deployment. So when people come to us and they say, oh, I can't get a test and sandbox environment, I'm telling you, look, we're just doing this on the live stream right now. We're seat of our pants here, Michael. We're doing what we can, right? So you see now we're almost running. And now I'm going to go ahead and deploy my cookie recipe. Okay, get pods -n. And we can see these are created. You can see there's a service load balancer for this, that gets created per node. And we can see this is running. Let's get services as well. And we can see this is the external address. Okay, so there's our cookie recipe, which I should probably have changed the name because it is with another people. So now if we go here and we see that this pod is running, we have Falco running, and we have that custom rule, this GitLab's cookie tampering rule, right? So here's what I want to do is I want to try to attack one of those pods, right? Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use kubens, and I'm going to set the namespace to the secret just to make life easier. Are you familiar with this tool, y'all?
Yes. Comes with kube context. Right?
Yep. Yeah, so it's familiar with Amit. Amit from Google created a bunch of really cool tools that let you kind of easily kind of manipulate and your environment. As you know, like kube contexts are really difficult to track and keep in charge of. And there's other tools like K9S and others like this, but I just tend to use kubectx and kubens. So we go kube pods. Okay. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, my favorite tool is kubetail. Because it can attach directly into namespace and you get all the logs of all containers that are currently running in. That is really cool because some pods have 3 containers and it's sometimes hard to get the logs of everyone, and then you see it live updating. That's really cool.
That's cool. All right, so I'm just going to do another shell here real quick. So I want to set up the port forwarding so I can show you all Frank's handiwork. All right. So I'm just doing this port forward. Go here, localhost. Okay, so again, there's these out-of-the-box rules, and there was one here. This is the terminal shell and container, right? Because look, I remember I terminaled into that container. If we go here, you can see I'm in that container right now. Whoops. I'm in that container, okay? But we're gonna do some more mischief in a second. This is showing me the user, the login ID, the name, the pod name. So I have the detail of what happened, right? Now, let's go ahead and try to trigger that rule that I meant earlier. Now, again, you have all of these rules pre-built. There's 60, remember I showed you there's 65 and there's 45. So there's in total, I think 140 rules that you get out of the box, but it's extensible. So if you see, certain things you can, there's CVEs that get created. So like the security research from our side, or also from the SysTech side, and also from the community, will create new rules and they'll kind of contribute those rules back. So let's go ahead and remember this rule here, right? User share nginx, right? Let's try to trigger it. User share, oops, yeah, I can spell. Nginx, HTML. I'm going to try to move this. It's a read-only file system, but I'm just going to try to putz with it, right? So we're here, hacked u dot text. Okay, you're saying to me, well, Pop, what is this telling me? Well, I want to know if somebody's dropping a workload anywhere. I want to know, and if it's a system call, right? It's network connection, and we go back to our here. Look at that. Something happened. Let me go ahead and close this. It's our GitLab's cookie tampering detector, right? There's our rule that we just deployed, that custom rule there. And what does it tell us? It tells us that it was tampered. That shows us exactly which deployment this happened on. So remember, let's say I have 10 nodes in a cluster, and I have 17 clusters. I have Falco deployed. I know exactly where somebody is in. I can take this, and maybe if I have Falco Sidekick deployed, maybe I might do something like this, where I have it in this case here. Hold on. I have Pop's cookies. Now look at my Falco alerts. There you go. Look at that. GitLab's cookie tampering detector. And it's all done with one. See that? All using Falco Sidekick and the UI. So riddle me this, you all. If you were just going to take a default, cluster, you wouldn't have this level of observability / security. Security is understanding what's going on in your environment. You can have all the policies you want and block all you want, but let's just say somebody gets in. You have a situation like SolarWinds, and that situation is this: misconfiguration and security issues account for $5.2 trillion. This is not my words. This is Accenture, of issues that happen in the world. This is why right now, Falco to me is the greatest runtime de facto tool that's out there. It literally out of the box did all of this stuff. It's extensible and all of that. Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we're any questions you all may have. I want to talk to you all about, again, you saw that this is how I deployed this. I added the repo. I did the Falco deploy. I added a couple more things like the Slack webhook UID and stuff like that. That's a little bit more of the magic that I did. And I also created that custom rules, right? But you still get those things out of the box. If you want to play with this right now, spin up a Civo cluster, spin up a GKE cluster, an Azure cluster, and deploy it right now. You can do exactly what I just did here, right? The other part of this is contribute to Falco. We have one of our amazing adopters, again, GitLab. Love the fact that they've been with us for years and basically using this tool in their environment, but also, adding additional projects like we're going to see with Package Hunter. Take a look at falco.org, you all. Check out the Falco project in GitHub. Give it a star. Play around with it. There's many ways you can contribute. There's core. If you're into eBPF, there's core things you can do. There's rule creation you can do. There's integrations like we mentioned earlier. Frank was somebody off the street who literally came in, Thomas as well, and created Falco Sidekick and that beautiful UI you saw. Think about the dark, one day we were joking about dark mode. 2 weeks later, the community built it out. By community, I mean Frank. That's the beauty of this thing. I love it. And getting involved in the community, we're on Kubernetes Slack. So if you go Kubernetes Slack /Falco, go in that channel. kick the tires, ask the questions. We're here all the time. We have a set of amazing maintainers that aren't just assisting maintainers. There's folks from IBM. There's folks from Amazon. There's folks, like I said, there's folks from very many different areas, that even end users that are using this, that may want to share what they're doing as well. And also follow us on Twitter. If you go to Falco_org. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Lily, more technical one. So how big is the resource consumption of the Falco agent on the node?
I get this question all the time. It's super, super minimal, because we're tapping into functions of eBPF that are kernel based, right? And so it's not like it's, I've seen, it depends on the amount of containers or system calls that are there, and there's ability to like filter through them as well. But I've seen between 0.1% to like 3% total CPU, and that's at peak, where somebody was using like hundreds of containers that had hundreds of system calls that were chatty system calls, like reads and writes are very chatty system calls.
Oh, cool.
But here's what I would say to you is, take a look and put it in a development environment and see like what the utilization is, and if there's any issues there, let us know. We can try to address them. But I can tell you, I've seen a lot of end users using this in environments, and it doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
Yeah, one funny story. In my previous job, I used Falco to detect how many developers connect or execute in pods.
Nice. So you use the terminal shell or the shell there out of the box. Yeah, it's really useful. One of the ones I've seen, which I love, this was a really good one, was we did a talk, and one of the Shopify is one of our very large adopters, and they were using it for ways to kind of understand what was happening in set pods, and even from a network connectivity perspective, they were able to say, okay, this is some obtrusive things that were happening from a specific SIP. So I was that's pretty exciting, right? And also they contributed some of those rules back. So there were some minor rules that they created and all that.
I mean, I think from my perspective and from my understanding is the default rule set, which ships, as you taught, is for starting good enough, and then you can extend, contribute back. But from the start, you get everything you need to get started. It's not like that you have developed your own policies, let's say with OPA or Kyverno. Okay, there are also some best practices, but I mean, they don't ship with 100 rules. So that's really great. Also, there's I think there are adopted Kubernetes rules from Falco, which coming with the Helm chart with shipping. I think there's some default, let's say, node rules for the operating system. And there's also special Kubernetes rules which shipping when you're inside the Helm chart. And this is really nice that you don't have to select which rules I want and which not. So they're just shipping and you're good to go.
Yeah, and like I said, there's 110 or 120 rules that come out of the box, right? But that includes system calls, but also audit log rules. But here's the thing I wanted to show you all about as well. This is, again, where folks would contribute back. Here's where if you're looking for a specific thing where you want to control like etcd, for instance, there's the example of the rule here. So you can copy and paste this, right? Some of these are already defaulted in there, but let's just say, hey, I got an Nginx deployment I want to use and say, okay, I want this to be in this, whitelist this file descriptor or this command prompt and all of that, or this is what the output that I want to have. So this is, again, where you have that basis to be able to say, oh, I need to protect this very sensitive directory, or I need to protect this specific connectivity going out to a specific place. One of the things that also one of the contributors did was there's something called the awesome repo. And literally they've concatenated every single one, and I'll put this in the chat right now. Basically, they've concatenated every single rule, or excuse me, every single article that's ever been written on Falco. So you can see, hey, somebody created this and somebody did this, and it's also repo if you wanted, if you wanted to add your own details here, you can as well. Shout out to the developer guy on that one.
I'm currently installing it in one of our sandbox clusters right now to see how it's working on our side.
Nice.
And I really like also not the benefit that you can use it on Kubernetes, so that you can also use it in not Kubernetes, so on static workloads sometimes. And there should be a case that you probably don't run your database in Kubernetes. So you probably want to run it on separate nodes because it's easier for you to maintain them. And then you can also use Falco there to see other incidents or other rules. And also the other main benefits that I currently see personally, that I don't need to use CRDs. So that's not built in Kubernetes. So, and I can move it to other destinations, can write really simple YAML files to do the expression. So, and I hope what I will see now, the first point with the default rules that are not too much, so that I get signals and not noise directly. So they have a little bit the fear of that when you get started on those tools, mostly you get a lot of information, but you don't know what to do with that. And then it's also not like a big win in some charts, but yeah.
And you can pare down those rules too. So if you saw, like, again, I have the custom rules that are defined, you can basically say, I want to go and say no rules. And these are the 5 that I care about. Like, again, it's, if you think about Philip mentioned earlier, it's like, I just wanted to understand my developers are terminaling into the environment. That could be the only rule you want to set up for, or grab some from the secure hub, right? Hey, there's Nginx ones I want to deal with. Those are ones to think about. What I've seen too, and we have an article on this as well, is where you can use things like GitOps, right? So you can basically, use something like, an update to that rule, like an update basically does a deploy. So there's tools like Argo CD, Flux, all of those types of things where you can say, okay, connect in, like, this is a rule update, push it out, turn it on, turn it off, that type of thing. I did that in a talk, which was kind of cool. It was at first, the rule was in a lower priority, and then we made it to an emergency, and that would trigger a function, and the function would kill the pod if somebody terminal into it. So that's a response engine. So if you go to falco.org/blog, you can see some examples. There's a literally 7-part response engine blog we wrote that can show you how you can interact with other projects that are in the community.
That's true.
All right, you all, look. I made the German speechless. Come on now, how is that even possible?
we are often quiet, so we are more thinking than being awesome.
Yeah,
And
we are impressed.
Impressed. Yeah.
Yes,
and we also like to stay in queues. Yeah, that's
so,
we need to queue all the information that you gave us.
Niklas is already trying it out live now.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
From the security hub, for example, I use the traffic ones because we use traffic ingress. So it was really great. So yeah, I can just copy what Pop is saying. It's really great.
Awesome, thanks, Philip. And like I said, if you're not already in the Falco channel on Kubernetes Slack, just join it. And if you all have some questions, we really want to make sure that it's a pleasant experience.
My issue is that I can't contribute because I'm an engineer, so I can only use the software. But I could make issues. That's
why couldn't you contribute though? I mean, you could delay. Yeah, well, not even so much that. You can take one of the rules, right? Maybe it's a default rule that you've created and share that with the world. I know. Yes. Again, I mentioned the minor one. There was a Stratum protocol that somebody wrote early on, and which was very cool. Or somebody actually went out and updated a CVE and updated that, presented that. So, if there's some things you see that are low-hanging fruit, we'd love to see contribution from that perspective.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it.
And we can also look into it together. Like learning a new programming language is also something we do oftentimes. It's not Falco is not written in Rust, but who knows?
I hope it's Go.
Falco's written in C++, but the YAML and like Go, Falco Sidekic's written in Go. So you can play around with that. There's also like a Go client as well. So there's a lot of things, and I think, like, if we're gonna segue, look at the segue, Michael. You like this? Package Hunter, I believe, is using some NPM packages to be able to do this. Off to you, Michael.
Building the bridges. I was just looking at the development clients, which mentions Go, Rust, and Python for Falco. But yeah, let me show my screen. And in this case, I want to.
Package Hunter is also using Node.js.
Yeah.
It's probably in the chat.
You probably should see my entire screen now. Like building the bridge to Package Hunter, and this was kind of this was an announcement I think 2 weeks ago, around like how can we monitor package dependencies who invoke a specific download or to do something which we don't expect, and similar to other security scanners and analyzers, there must be found a way to actually monitor that. And one of the things I've like learned myself is like you create a sandbox environment, you do the installation, and you monitor syscalls. And while following up on the Package Hunter blog post and reading like the why on like supply chain attacks going on, and you never know what's pulled in from a reverse dependency tree, to like learning, okay, there's Falco in the background. And like from the cloud native community, I knew Falco, and I've always had a peek in there, but I like it's deep down in the kernel, and it's I'm just taking the time to evaluate it. So I'm really happy that I've learned today a little more about it, and can actually like put it into production and trying to show you how Package Hunter works. And the general idea behind Package Hunter, or like the general idea, it's currently in beta. It's in development, but it has been made available for the wider community in order to try it out, collect feedback, and also foster a way to maybe contribute the rules back to Falco, find ways to integrate it, just make it a good experience, I would say. And the thing I tried is, or which I did in advance to this session, is Package Hunter itself starts out in the project README telling you it needs Falco, Docker, and Node, has certain dependencies.
Michael, can we talk about that real quick? You don't mind? Because I'm thinking, again, it's a natural segue. If you look at the Falco, remember I showed you all the rules, right? There's the Falco rule set that's getting created, and we see the YAML there. So if we can go into that Falco director, the Falco rules, yeah, that's the one, right? I mean, you see the syntax that we used before. The amazing folks at GitLab took this, right, and looked at, spawn process around, a blacklisted binary and all of that. I mean, you took it and extended that, which was really, really cool, right? Again, using that syntax, using that capability. I really wanted to set that as, again, the kind of the segue between the tools before you show the magic that is the NPM piece and how you all are how you all kind of got the node stuff going. So
it's actually it's a lot to learn and a lot to unpack. And I'm not the author of it, so I'm also just learning myself while scrolling now. But it's really interesting that like there is, I remember myself looking into ways how I can monitor a syscall, or how I can like do that myself. Maybe not in the security way, but generally speaking, I wanted to know what specific programs and apps are doing. And oftentimes it's a TCP dump away, but doing that in a different way with defining rules and just making it approachable is a really nice way. And I can see that you can do a lot of things in the DSL actually, or in the rule language in Falco. This can also be generated with a tool or something like that. But yeah, the getting started process, except for like reading everything which is needed, is there is a Vagrant box available which we can run, and I already did that. And you also need VirtualBox or anything else as a virtual machine provider. And then do a Vagrant up, wait for a while until everything is provisioned and installed, and then use Vagrant SSH to get a terminal in the virtual machine. And this is basically what I have on this side. And oops. It's amazing how a terminal is transforming when you're trying to increase the zoom. It's like Vagrant SSH, and we can we are then hopefully in the box. Or my MacBook is dying because of Zoom and Vagrant. And in the
Disable Docker.
Sorry?
Disable Docker. You have also Docker running in your system, so then you save another virtual machine at least.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's hope that nothing breaks. And if it breaks, then I'm gone. No. The thing is, I already did the steps with npm CI in there, but I can just repeat it to see if something changed. Removing I don't want to do that. Hopefully nothing was deleted. Okay, for some reason it did. Or I did I do something? Cannot find module debug. Okay. Now it's installing something, but at least this took, I think, 20 seconds. The Vagrant up took 2 to 5 minutes or something, depending on the internet connection and the packages being installed. I also looked into the Vagrant file, which does the provisioning, so it should be straightforward to, well, straightforward. I didn't have the time, to be honest, to put it into an Ansible or Terraform script or something like that, because it's doing quite a lot of things. But I usually just want to put that into a script, and then you can like provision it into a cloud virtual machine, and everything is running. But this is right now, it's a local server. It can be started with this wonderful command, which brings up Package Hunter, and following the instructions, we should be having, or I can upload a repository to test. And the thing I did is I also installed the Package Hunter CLI, which is referenced in the blog post, as far as I remember, which allows you to integrate it into CI/CD, so in a CI/CD pipeline. But you can also run it locally, so you can use the Docker image, which has been created for the Package Hunter CLI, or build it from source. And I couldn't make Docker work for some reason. And the last step I was doing before the session was to play around with the CLI analyze command, but I couldn't figure out how to override the localhost port 3000 where my virtual machine is listening. There is a manual command, and this is not here, but here, this one, because Package Hunter is now running in a development mode, which doesn't need any authorization. By default, it needs also authorization. And let me see, I have, interesting. I do have a GitLab table around, which I wanted to upload. And this is not GitLab master, but this is the command which I just copied. Is it Jan? I think so. And I'm actually not sure if that works. Previously, it didn't work. I got an unauthorized error. This time it looks a little better. Maybe the tarball is too big. Could also be the case. The other thing I tried, no, Siri, I'm not here. Oh. Okay, payload too large error. Okay, it's 2 gigabytes. Do we have something else? I was wondering about like creating a test project which does something malicious. And I found the Sneak Goof project, but I think it doesn't do what I anticipated to do. The thing is, I read about typo squatting with cross-env and different namings and where this could be a problem. Let me see. We have something around Falco test. The thing is, I'm not a Node.js developer, which makes this a little more complicated. But let's see. I've found a handbook page from our teams where an example is shown. So even if I cannot do this now, I can at least show you how it could look like. So there's like the message detection that something is going on, and the command node scripts install.js does something malicious, or at least tries to do an outbound connection, which is defined by the rules that it doesn't want to do that. And in this case, there were a while ago it happened in node-sas. And the inspection of the install.js led then into a specific get binary URL, which tried to download a binary directly from GitHub, which was not anticipated. Okay. Just wondering, do I have? There was a package JSON which was linked over here. But this doesn't download anything. And I was wondering, it's not history. I wanted to go there. Is it vendor? No. How can I create source code which is which tries to download something? There is Node.js yarn post install comma,
We can
something like that.
increase the body limit probably. It's an Express app. I checked it. So it could probably say that it's allowed. If your VM has enough memory, then it's not a problem. It's a one-liner that we need to do. Then we can try to re-upload it again. So you need to go into the package hunter directory. Going into the server.js. That's the correct one.
Also, we are source.
Source, and then now go in root. So go in root. There, it's already set. It's set to 200 megabytes. Yeah, that's the reason why it doesn't work. And then in the line where limit is currently standing.
Oh, it's hard-coded. Interesting.
Yeah, probably we can make him fix that. You can configure it via environment variable, but no.
Yeah, later. Is that actually Git? Okay, it tracks that at least. So I don't need to remember that I changed that. Okay. I'm not sure if like the upload will actually do something or detect something, but I wanted to like see that something is working. The other idea I had before was to initialize a new.
Did we lost Michael?
Yes, we lost him.
Okay, that was too many.
Yeah,
zeros.
Too many.
Oh, interesting. I can still hear you.
Yeah, we can now also still hear you. Be back. So you back?
I had the obvious warning that my internet connection is unstable, which sometimes happens at this time in Europe. But you can see my screen and can hear me talking, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next to the server, I also had the idea to create a Node.js project with a package JSON where something is executing something like curling the website or similar, and then Falco detects that when uploading it, because I can imagine that the GitLab upload or the GitLab project upload is not as efficient or might not unveil something. Let's see, let's try this out. So basically we learned that there is a hard-coded limit right now, which makes sense to avoid any like DDoS, but potentially we want to configure that. While this is doing an upload, which might take a while.
And Michael, my apologies. I have a hard stop at 1:55. So my apologies, another 5 minutes.
That's no problem at all. I told you sometimes things break, sometimes we extend the sessions, and sometimes everything breaks. So I really appreciate you taking the time to show us Falco today, to inspire us to think about contributing and how the rule system works, and to follow up on everything. Potentially we will try now to fix things or try it even out. I will share the recording, or the recording is already on YouTube, create a blog post around it, and send you the links. And we might be doing a follow-up session in a bit, or finding new ways or new ideas. So that being said, really appreciate you in our session today, and hopefully we meet in person in the future at some point.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. And again, really great work that GitLab's done. We have an adopters file of folks that are using Falco, and we're very proud to have GitLab as an adopter of Falco. So we appreciate it and looking forward to doing more with y'all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Bye.
Yeah, so there is no obligation watching me break things, but still, at least, okay, it's actually a problem that the server is dying with like this. So maybe let's take a screenshot of the error and start again. And in Yarn, I created a package JSON in there. The only thing I was not sure of is how the syntax of post install works, or just executing a command in package JSON. How does this work? Because as said, I'm not a regular Node.js developer. Is there something like command? Bin. Something which gets executed. This is complicated. Probably I should learn Node.js before. Scripts. There you go. Reverse engineering everything. Scripts. And this is a dictionary. And post install. Today is not my day. Curl HTTPS. Everyone can contribute.com. What happens when I run yarn bundle? Oh, Markley broke the JSON. Okay. Ooh. Would this be Hui? Oh, it's actually running. Interesting. When I run yarn install, yeah, this is exactly what I want to see. I want to download something from the internet. And if I now create a tarball with this fancy command, mal yarn tgz mal, oops, mal yarn, hello. And I have this curl thing over here. Okay. Nothing happened. But then completely sent off, unauthorized, doesn't make sense. Data binary. It's odd. Why did the other thing work? Does this thing have a debug mode or something like server? Here. Localhost what? Does it have log? If not ID, there's a reason. Monitor dependency yarn. Is this what I'm calling? Monitor project yarn. Okay. Monitor project yarn. Yarn install my app. Okay.
But do you using yarn or npm? Because it's two different dependency installers in Node.js. So then I think you should also start it with yarn.
Maybe I need to specify that. Or do I need to maybe provide an index.js or something like that?
No. Yeah, I touch the index.js file. So.
Oops, this was in the wrong directory. And I want to recreate this one. Tar, hello. And oh. This is me. This reminds me totally of doing development a while ago. Unauthorized. Doesn't make sense. Unauthorized. Why?
Huh? But do you need to provide a token or something else?
Typically not, because the docs say when you run it as a development environment, authorization is disabled.
Okay, it says also. But can you go back?
Back where? Yeah.
And this is also routing to localhost. Did you also start it locally?
Yeah, so I can like.
What's happened now? Because you shut it down the server, right? So it should be.
No, I started it again. That's interesting. It's hiding the error. Can we please keep that? This is the same error I keep seeing in my browser when I open localhost 3000. So this it's passing the somehow the ID needs to be passed. This maybe what's written in troubleshooting. No, the ID needs to be generated by the server. This needs to be returned, and this is like what I'm getting back. Doesn't make sense. Maybe data binary. Should I really be doing a get by default? No. Maybe the request method is wrong.
No, you're doing a data binary, so then it's directly a post.
Ah, okay. Yeah, the thing is, which terminal?
You see also get requests. Does the route has changed in some way because the documentation is not up to date? So we can check this in the route.js. So because there's the routes that are available. My top project, yeah. Create file like this middleware. What is this doing? It's a middleware.
It starts a Docker container, which is actually like the sandbox, and runs the commands. That's something I do understand. The only thing I don't really understand is why do I need to upload a tarball? How does this work? And why, for some reason, I sometimes get this ID error, which doesn't make sense. And the authorization is in the authorizer.js, which.
Okay, yeah, you can do like the ID was a query param, right? So that would be when you're going under the root URL, you can say ID and then the ID number that you get from the report when you submitted a package to see the status. And now,
yeah, this one actually. Oops, this one actually. This is the URL param.
That's the reason why you're getting the ID error. So, but GitLab master target set. Do we have the same package here?
So it's like it's a little spread between the package CLI and package hunter itself. There is instructions over here to create an archive of the project sources, and this is basically what I'm doing, creating a TG set and upload it. The CLI itself. Let me just start the server again. The CLI is in here.
Yeah, but it is only doing the curl command, so that would help us. Looking.
Yeah, it actually does the program. Which commander? Okay. Oh, there is the host variable, which I was looking to override because I couldn't really figure that out, how this works. Let me see. CLI. I was doing this, but host is localhost 3000. Oh, no, this doesn't work. Yeah, so the CLI is made for. Okay, this doesn't work.
But host is hard-coded. You can't override it.
It's a conf require. I don't know how to override it. I was assuming this is an environment variable.
Or it could be. I don't know what this RC module is currently doing. So that could be the change. Wait, let me check if it's working. But expose it first and we'll see if it works. But it needs to be an HTTP URL, right? Not only a host.
Ah, does it? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, okay. That could be the culprit, maybe. TCP, bloop.
Okay, it's hard-coded.
Yeah, okay. Hello. It is me.
You need to have the single quotes in the beginning. So string in Node.js.
Okay, learning a bit of Node.js today. No, I'm jumping around in many projects, and oftentimes it looks familiar. So, oh, interesting. Now that we have hard-coded the value, we can upload something.
Yeah,
okay.
we can. It's like quite simple also to expose this as environment variable, so it's not quite hard. Probably can make a pull request to that. It's only you need to call process.env and then the environment variable, and then you can set up also default value with pipe and then the default value. That's how Node.js is working. Or my understanding of what's Node.js. I'm also not an expert on that. But Socrates hang up. Probably can you do an htop on the machine? Because I have a fear that this machine has only 2 GB and we want to upload 2 GB.
Yeah, the default Vagrant File says 2 cores and 2 GB of RAM. Yeah, maybe I should go the long road and get a Hetzner Cloud virtual machine with lots of RAM and install it over there and avoid the VirtualBox thing.
Yeah, probably can continue this next week. I would be ready to see it in action, working finally.
That's a great idea, because I think spinning up a virtual machine now takes too long. Or not spinning it up, but copy pasting it and making everything work. I think first of all, it deserves something scripted, and the other thing is we can work async on specific source code patches or ideas which we have. So this sounds like a good plan, especially because it's already after 8 p.m. and yep. That being said, did I'm not sure if I wanted to mention anything. But yeah, let's keep this in mind, the blog post and the repositories, and also, of course, Falco and everything we learned today. And I think, yeah, I also tweeted some things beforehand, showing pop and all the magic stuff. Yep. That being said, I will stop my share and say thanks for watching. Thanks for joining today. And we will do the session or continue Package Hunter next week, and also try to create some demos and some more interesting insights which we didn't have today, and maybe just look into learning Falco rules and creating one ourselves for Package Hunter. And
also, what could be interesting, so because it's YAML, right? So we can also validate the rules. So if the values are fitting in, so you can use JSONet for generating these rules, or you can use QLang and also validate it. But okay.
I think I'm not sure, but I think Falco has a linter built in, or at least you can validate the rules and the configuration.
Oh, cool.
But I'm not sure about it. I'm just guessing, because Falco has client libraries and there's lots in the ecosystem, and I think linting the rules engine is probably something which is built in. But if it's not, we can build it. So Philip, you have found your project to contribute. Just kidding. Yeah, so whatever comes to mind until next week, I will prepare or try to prepare the setup and grant you access to the virtual machine then, and from there we can just go ahead and learn something new. Until then, bye-bye, have a great week, and talk to you next week.